The next Saw is going to be a prequel, but this spooky season is going to be amazing. There's like been a good horror movie now up until no last week actually up until the end of October. And I love found footage movies. So like the found footage slate is like amazing.
So
DeMarcus
wait.
doesn't like wait, what you say? What you say?
Oh, because I'm also seeing the ads for the new Exorcist movie, which I'm also very confused about because is that can't be a prequel. That seems like a sequel, but it doesn't seem like a modern
So the new Exorcist movie is
setting.
set in modern day. They all have cell phones,
Oh,
but it's
oh,
yeah, it's not a prequel. It's just a continuation. It's the fourth movie in the series.
right.
Hmm.
Okay. Because that was the thing. That seemed like in some ways like they were trying to do a direct sequel to the original, but in other ways it felt like they were just like, what if a black girl was spooky too? Like, what if we
Exactly.
had two?
Exactly. But but I'm all for black people being spooky. I love that. They can keep that train going because
Yeah.
there's not enough black people in horror. But we're boring Demarcus out of his mind. So Demarcus, tell me, how have you
What?
been?
I've been doing work. Y'all not boring me. I'm just not into horror. I don't like scary stuff. I'm not
Like at
like why
all?
do I have to pay to be scared?
Oh my
Mm.
God.
Um
This same conversation every week.
I'm gonna say the same thing. My feelings not gonna change. Yeah, no, my girlfriend last night had me trying to watch the American Horror Story stuff.
The new
Hmm.
one, the new series.
The new one?
No,
The
no, we were
season.
watching Roanoke.
No,
Okay.
don't watch that one. You're gonna have nightmares.
Yeah, my eyes were closed the whole time. I did not see a
Wow.
thing.
You
Like every
are
time I peeked, something scary happened. I was like, "That's it. I'm going."
you need to
She's
grow
like, "You
up.
ready to go to sleep?" I'm like, "No,
You,
I just told you I'm not watching this.
yeah, one
You're
of these
not
days
gonna
you gotta grow
force
up.
me."
One of these days
Oh,
you
I'm
gotta,
grown.
well,
I'm grown.
you know.
I set my boundaries and I enforce them.
There you go. We
Uh,
respect boundaries at BGE. We respect boundaries.
no, it's been pretty well. Been pretty productive at work. I've been working on this AI stuff for a long time. It's finally starting to take shape. I think mostly because we're partnering with some other teams that have also been doing work in their area.
Third party teams.
Internal, internal.
So what
Yeah.
AI do you use? Is it
That,
like something you're building or
Yeah,
it-
we use ChatGPT and we're just trying to build a framework to make it work for our needs.
hmm.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
because
you know that
AI
ChatGPT
is
is just updating. You saw their latest update, right? Today.
no, no, no.
Okay.
That's not my outside of my
Oh.
role. I don't get paid to do
Oh.
that.
So
But yeah.
as someone who is working in AI every
Mhm.
day, because I just use it, well, I use it for work, but mostly recreationally, are you afraid?
Afraid of what?
AI.
Am I afraid it's going to take my job? No. Am I afraid that eventually it's going to be like smart enough to like take over the world? Less now than I used to be because I definitely felt that way at first. But after like having to work with it for so long, I'm like, oh, this thing is stupid. Like
For now,
For now.
for now, for now. So I'll say my fears are like 98% assuaged.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's all for you.
Yeah, that's all for
Okay.
me. Been having a good time, y'all. Oh, I went to Folsom over the weekend.
That's what I was waiting
we'll
on.
talk about it. Talk about it. Folks that don't know, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. So,
I just saw the timeline. I was, what the what? What?
Folsom Street Fair is like a sex positive, LGBTQ positive, like fair, festival, and like people like in lingerie in the streets. People are naked in the streets. It was a lot of dicks.
People are
It was
having
more
sex
dicks
in the
than I.
streets.
They
Just
were they
wild
were like
sex.
toward the end, toward like 4 or 5 o'clock. Yes, like we got there like what noon. People weren't having sex in the streets at noon. Like let's not make these people seem crazy. You got to have lunch first.
No,
But
I don't recommend having lunch first if you're gonna have gay sex. But DeMarcus, why were you there?
Tell them why.
so it was my girl's idea. She was like, "Oh, do you want to go to the Folsom Street Fair with me?" And I was like, "Sure." was like, I've heard of Folsom before, but I've never been. And my expectations were way too low. Like, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be cute. You know, a lot of folks gonna have on lingerie. You know, folks gonna be dancing a lot, having a good time.
No,
Like, one of the
white
first things I
gays are
saw was
crazy.
like somebody get head in the streets. So,
Yeah,
like folks
yeah,
like on their knees sucking dick in the streets. People getting fingered. I'm like,
yeah.
what's like, what's going on? Like, where's the line? Because I just keep seeing shit happen.
There's no line there. Folsom is crazy. The
It's
white
not.
gays are crazy. But I do
People were
want to
like walking
say
through
that,
with their kids. I was like,
yeah,
yo, like he's 12. Like, he don't need to be
yeah.
here.
I mean,
It was
Freaknik
kids
was the
out there?
same way.
But I'm not gonna say no because I wasn't there, so I can't. But I still feel kind of the same way. It's like keep the kids at the home, have fun, do what you want, but
Yeah.
just
I mean,
16
but
and
under,
like 16, 17, take them to Folsom. Like, that's not a preteen sort of festival.
right.
I mean,
Right,
but do you want your kids to not know about sex at a young age? Like, okay, when are you going to teach your daughter about sex, Lorante?
So that's a conversation. I'm not saying we're not talking about sex, and that's okay, but it's like I'm trying to find the word.
Sex in the streets, though, is very different.
You know what I'm
It's a
saying?
very specific kind of
The
sex.
sun's still out. It's
Yeah.
know.
I mean, God can see you if the sun's out or the.
I'm not saying
Or
God,
it's there.
just general public. I'm saying it's wrong. I'm definitely, we all know me. If it's, hey, what's going on? So, but I'm just saying, like the young children, they are impressionable. So hey, keep your kids at the crib. Because let me tell y'all a quick story.
Well, hold on. Before you tell your
Oh,
quick story,
oh.
I just want to say that my culture is not your playground.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
I agree. I agree.
But
I agree.
wait. Folsom isn't just a queer event, though.
You go into my place of pleasure and fun. It's not.
But you weren't
It doesn't
there.
compute. I don't care if I'm not there. I'm not at Toyota Don either, which is where you go for your fun. But I don't do that because that's not my culture. That's your culture. So
Folsom is not just like a queer space. It's a sex positive space first, and it just happens. Queer people are a lot more sex positive than straight people.
there is no straight anything I've ever heard of being at Folsom. You're probably the only straight.
You just
the
said
only straight
Freaknik.
presence there, and you weren't even like, oh my God, no. But Freaknik was a different thing. Freaknik was a completely different thing.
After having been at both, granted, like 30 years apart, they are the same thing. Like, the things I saw at Freaknik are the exact same things I saw at Folsom.
No. If there was a white person from University of Florida at Freaknik in cargo shorts walking around downtown Atlanta while everything was happening, people would look at them funny. Just like people looked at you funny because you were holding hands with because you're hard opening your girl.
I wasn't holding her hand. She was tied up. Had the rope. But people were not looking at me funny. If they were looking at me funny, it's because they wanted me. Now, just put the period at the end of that sentence, because they wanted me. Like, folks were coming up, grabbing my hands, like, "Oh, hey, my name is so and so. Like, how are you doing? You look so great." And I'm
take it.
Were there any other Black people there?
Thanks, man. See you day.
Were there any other Black people there?
Of course.
Gordon was there.
We don't say his name on the podcast.
He who now shall not be.
We
mentioned.
do not. He is the person who shall not be named. So on that note, Lorante, what's your story?
This isn't really mine. My daughter, she's dating, right? So she's 13 now. She was 12.
Did you meet the guy?
Yeah. He's a kid. So this was last year. This is last year. I'll be quick and brief. So the state fair's in town. This is last year. Let's mind you, this is last year. State fair's in town, right? So they agreed to go to the state fair date. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's mother wanted them. She was in charge of it. What she did, she took it upon her bright idea. You know what? Let's take them to Pride downtown Atlanta. So the parents drop the boy off thinking they're going to go to, the state fair, and the whole time he's at Pride. So he gets there, he gets freaked out. He calls his mom because he just, when you're expecting to go somewhere, you go somewhere else. And then, so that started a whole thing. The mom was like, well, he needs to learn about this. I'm like, yeah, but you're not the one to do it. You're not his parent. That's kind of very inappropriate. What do you mean? And she just, She tried to like, why are everybody coming at me? Like, girl, wait, like, why would you take this young
You wrong.
12-year-old? He doesn't know up from down, Well,
So
he
so
does. They
so
do.
the
They
adult
do.
in question just dropped him off in downtown Atlanta.
No, she didn't drop him off. Yeah, but they all went downtown Atlanta. Pride, Pride in Atlanta now. It's Atlanta.
I mean, was it daytime or
Pride
nighttime?
in daytime. Man, well, I don't know. I've never been, so I can't speak on it because I wasn't there. Like it was something I heard after the fact. She's like, "Daddy, mommy just da 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 da." I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
I mean, nothing happens like
Like,
Folsom Street. It's not like that. People just walking
it
around in
not
tank
yeah, not like
tops.
that, but it's like naked men walking around, naked women. Once again, he's like 12 at the time,
Aren't they naked
sheltered
downtown
private
for
school
Pride?
kid.
Nobody was naked when I was there. I've been in the parade twice,
I
so
mean, I don't know. I don't know. He said he told me what he saw because I had a decent relationship with the kid, and I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, bro. But it's just like as a parent, you want to be in control of what your kids see. So I wouldn't take the parents who let their kids go to what's it called again?
Folsom.
Folsom. I'm like 18 and up, perfect. Hey, by all means, by all means.
I would
High
say
school,
16 is a
come
good
on now.
age.
Yeah,
It's
16 is like
16 is a good
Yeah,
age to see kids having
16 year
sex in the
old.
yeah.
street. I mean, men, grown men having sex in the street.
Okay, I'm sorry. We spent a little too long on that one. We spent a little too long on that one.
How are you doing?
Yeah. How you
Oh my
doing,
goodness.
Lorente?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Everything is good. Last week we had like our physical education aspect with the kids. So we kind of pitted the classes against each other. So our 6th through 12th grade classes, they went against each other. And it was, like I said, it was a really good time. Just a really, really good time. They my 6th graders, they really rallied together because they're the youngest ones, but they have the most like animosity over nothing. Mr. Madison, he took my pencil. No, he took it from me first. Just a little petty bickering like that. So they put out to the side. They really competed. They lost everything though. Because everybody's just so much bigger. They lost everything, but I love how they competed. We have in like 2 weeks, so gunning for that, and that's good. Real estate. We closed on something last week. Me and my mom, we were a 2-person team, so we closed on something last week. We closed on something tomorrow, so the money's about to get back right, and then we have one more closing in mid October, October 15th. So everything's going pretty good. How about you, Jared? How's everything going on your end, man?
So, more clarification for Jordan, who is our special guest this week. More on that later.
Oh, we didn't mention them.
Lorante's a realtor, so
Yeah, yes, I'm a realtor, a teacher 9 to 5, realtor 5 to 9.
Nice, nice.
So that's thank you. So yeah, so
you
we
have
do
two
that.
closings.
Yeah, well, yeah, 2 closings. So I got one happening tomorrow, and then another one happening October 15th. Cross his fingers because just because it's under contract does not mean it's always gonna close. So far so good. Fingers
Congratulations.
crossed. Still gonna pray it to the end and make sure we stay on top of it. But yeah.
Congrats. How am I doing? I'm still going to the gym. There have been no
Hey.
words of encouragement or are you going or anything from my friend after he said that he would do it for 2 weeks in a row now. So I don't know how I'm still going by the grace of God, actually, because I don't want to go at all.
I sent you.
Huh?
Have you done the workout I sent you?
I'm not going to do your workout. You never followed up on it. And that's not what I asked. I asked you to follow up on me going to the gym. I didn't say give me one workout and then forget me. Leave me out to the wolves.
Looking at people.
No, I do not look at people. And today I went after 5, which I hate going after 5, but I didn't want to go at 5 a.m. I hate going after 5. And I'm just on the treadmill doing my workout. This muscly guy comes in and he's just being muscle. He's being a show off in the little mirror and he's looking at his muscles, but he's not working out. He's just walking around the gym, not doing anything. I'm like, what's your purpose? He passes by me. I was like, was that I don't know. That wasn't that. He passes by me again and I look at his tattoos. He has all these tattoos. He has a Nazi tattoo on his chest.
Or
I'm like, what in the world? Really? This is why I don't go to gyms. This is why I don't come here. So I'm like, okay. And then, so I get off the treadmill after 30 minutes. That was good. I get off the treadmill and I try to go to a machine and he's walking around so much. He's near every machine that I'm trying to go by, Try to go to the ab machine, he's there. Trying to go to the booty machine, he's there. Trying to go to the arm machine, he's there. Trying to go to the back machine, he's there. I'm like, what is your purpose here? He didn't pick up or put down one thing while he was in there. He just walked around with his Nazi tattoo, looking muscly, and he didn't do anything. So I hate going to gym. I'm never going after 5 again. I'm only going at 5 a.m. when I'm supposed to go, because that's the only time. Like, I need to be there with the construction workers, with the policemen, with all of the other people
who got full-time jobs.
Yeah, people who have full-time jobs that shower there and they put on their tie and have bodies like mine that look like they just had a baby last week. Is that what you said, DeMarcus? I look like I just had a baby. Yeah,
like a month ago.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, okay.
Like you.
Couple months postpartum.
Yeah, okay. Well, I need to go with all people my body type at 5 a.m. So yeah. Oh, and Jordan, how are you doing?
Let's go.
What's going on with you?
I'm good. Thankfully, no Nazis at the gym around me, which is always a plus. Yeah, just working. It was my birthday on Sunday.
Happy birthday!
Happy
Hey.
Yeah, so just took it easy. Yeah, but nothing too crazy around here.
So what you do for your birthday?
It was, I mean, I don't know what it was like around y'all. We had the hurricane was like passing through, like it didn't like hit us in any real way, but it was just kind of like nonstop rain Saturday, Sunday. But you know, I baked a cheesecake and saw some friends and just took it easy. So yeah, pretty low key, but still a good day. I went to the comic shop and picked up a bunch of books that I should have picked up a while ago. So filling out that collection.
So what you get? Okay, first I have so many questions. So you also go to the gym?
So I have like a home system. Like I've got like a little treadmill here at my home and like some weights. But like I'll try to go to the gym. I think just with my schedule, it can be a little tricky because it's like I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. to go work out.
That's what it's going to
be. Me neither.
I know. And that's why I'm like, but the other thing for me too is like I know 90% is nutrition. And the other, not even the other 20%, because like it's nutrition, but then a lot of people will tell you that it is like getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Like it's those two things. And then the working out is like, you know, what like builds the muscle and does all the other stuff. But like if you're not doing those two other things, then like that third part is kind of, it's not irrelevant, you know, but it's still like you're making everything harder for yourself, you know, on that end. Like you can work out as much as you want, but if you're not getting a certain amount of sleep and you're not eating correctly, you know, and like that's kind of, it's not like I'm eating terribly. I ate not great because it was my birthday weekend, but
the whole
before that,
right?
you know, like I'm not the whole thing, but like a decent amount of it. But yeah, you know, like I try to eat fairly well, but it still can be a little tricky where it's just like, but what about pizza? You know what I mean? Like what about the things that I enjoy eating?
What'd you say, DeMarcus?
It's called balance.
I know. I mean, you gotta have those cheat days, I guess, and all that. But yeah, I try to take care of myself, I guess is the answer to the question.
That's good. I definitely don't get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. I'm doing good if I got 3. I'm doing great if I got 3. 3 hours of sleep, and then I gotta do something else. And I definitely don't eat right. I just had Korean barbecue the other day. I had some ramen today, but yeah, with the invention of Uber Eats and Grubhub and all these other things, there's no way I can eat right. But I did cancel the chef thing that I was getting meal deliveries from because I wasn't eating that. It was really good food, but I wasn't eating it. So yeah.
Did you have to cook the food? Or?
No, they were like TV dinners.
Oh,
okay. Anyways, Lorante, I want to put you on to something. And Jordan, you may enjoy this. I want to put y'all on to this amazing movie that I just watched to begin my spooky season with. It's on Hulu now. It's a Hulu original, but I really think that this could be a contender for a Grammy Award. It's called
Emmy?
Oscar. Sorry, Oscar. It's called No One Will Save You.
Mhm.
Oh,
It is about this person who I think that the preview showed that it's an alien invasion story. And the CGI is not great. It's not Marvel. The visual effect artists are going on strike. But the writing is great, cinematography is great, the plot, you don't know what's about to happen. And there are so many twists and turns and ups and downs. Like it really like you have to keep watching. And I was actually watching this, like I woke up and I just started watching it at 6. And then of course work came. I was like, stop messaging me because I always have to pause the movie and go back. But y'all need to leave me alone for right now. Y'all never bother me this much. It is such a good movie. I think that like everybody should see this movie. Like I've been recommending it to all my little horror groups on Instagram and
It's
group
horror.
chats. Huh?
You said it's horror.
Yeah, it's a scary movie. You can't watch it.
but it's
It's-
based off aliens.
but you know
so
what?
It's not too scary.
What you say?
It's based off aliens, right? So it's not too scary. More thriller, right?
No, it's a scary movie because you know how in Dungeons and Dragons, they're devils and they are demons. And both of them are scary in their own sort of way. There are aliens that are devils in this movie, and there are aliens who are demons in this movie. And
So it's multiple.
Yeah, there are multiple types of aliens.
Ooh.
So like, and then when you see the devil alien, I was like on the edge of my seat. Then when I saw the demon aliens and they just kept coming, I was like, what's going on? So like, it's a lot going on for an hour and a half. Like I was like, whoa. Well, I think you got to see this movie to start your spooky season. You have got to see this movie. No One Will Save You.
Okay, yeah, I've heard people have been talking about it, and I feel like it's the same thing with Barbarian, which I didn't. I still have to watch that, but I know people are like, when it came out, people were going crazy about it and like kind of recommended it in the way that it's a small independent kind of film, but also like is as good or as scary as a lot of like the major, horror films that are coming out. So that's on my list. It's on Hulu, right?
It's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So yeah, guys, is there anything else we need to discuss before we start this episode?
Well, the one thing that's popped in my head is that a lot of times when these things say Netflix original, Hulu original, it's like no one at the company wrote this. Someone else wrote this and y'all bought it. Like it's not an original.
I mean, they put their name on it for
stop misleading us.
I mean, that's something that a producer does. So, I mean, we've been talking about like what does a producer do?
I just put my name up as a producer.
Yeah, he just puts his name on it.
I can do that.
All right, guys. So that was it. So let's take a quick break and come back with Jordan Clark in this episode of Black Geek Energy.
BGEN. You deserve to be happy. Professional, licensed, and vetted therapists who you can trust. Tap into the network of licensed, accredited, and experienced therapists who can help you with a range of issues, including depression, anxiety, relationships, trauma, grief, and much more. With our therapists, you can get the same professionalism and quality you would expect from an in-office therapist, but with the ability to communicate when and how you want. All right, head on over to betterhelp.com/BGEpod. Sign up right now and let them know we sent you.
All right, guys. So we are back with Jordan Clark. You may be asking, who is Jordan Clark? And I'm going to answer, you don't know anything about anything. Like, you don't. Jordan Clark is a acclaimed comic book writer. He has wrote Aquaman, not the Aquaman that was in the Super Friends, the lame Aquaman, but the new Aquaman who is taking DC by storm. He's everywhere now. He wrote the pivotal Aquaman book. that redefined that character. And it's when I read this book, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I was trying to tell your bio, but I'm going on a tangent. When I read this book, it was like he did in two episodes, no, um
Issue.
in two issues what I'm thinking Tim Burton, the guy who wrote the Vision, I can't think
Oh,
of
Tom King.
Yeah. Tom King does in 12 issues. Like he redefined that person for DC. And he actually did it a year before in this short story with the Flash, right? Because he wrote that first.
Yeah, that's what that. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. He did that the year before. I was like, okay. And then he wrote the pivotal issues of that character. His last name was Jackson. What's his first name?
It's Jackson Hyde. Yeah.
Jackson Hyde. He is the I'm forgetting everything. I'm so sorry. He is the son of
Black
Aquaman's
Manta.
greatest enemy, Black Manta. So he wrote his issue. He's part of the inaugural group of the Milestone Initiative project. And he wrote a tale about Static Shock that's not about Static at all. It's about his parents and how his parents were dealing with, he's Static now. But before dealing with, like, he's a kid, he's a teenager, and then he's Static, and then this whole new set of issues that they had to go through. It was actually kind of powerful because you see his parents go through the typical Black conversation, and then they go through the typical, well, the not typical superhero conversation. Like, you got to be careful. Yeah, he wrote a lot of books. Now, Jordan, my first question to you is, you said at the end of the Milestone book that your favorite character or something was Booster Gold. So my first question is, why would you pick such a mediocre white man?
Ooh,
Oh.
ow, ouch. Well, so I'll break down the reasoning, right?
Yes.
So, like, when you think about specifically all the DC superheroes, right? You're getting jumped in an alley, right? Like, the Joker's people are like coming to get you, right? So Superman comes and saves you. Is great, right? Also terrifying because, like, that man could kill you by accident, like just like bumping into you, like you could die. You know what I mean? And so, like, as comforting as he is, as like all the things that Clark tries to do, like, he's still a god, more or less, and that's terrifying, right? Batman is just generally terrifying, right? Like, he
And
does.
racist.
You're not gonna and fascist, all those things, So you're just like, oh, okay, so like, thanks Batman, but also like scared that he might kill you on purpose, like if he thinks that you broke some kind of law, like, and I don't
Or
know,
he'll
my
put you in a
general,
hospital for the rest of your life.
yeah, like I get the sense that Black people in Gotham don't like Batman.
Me too. There was actually a
Imagine-
book about that. It was a part of a anthology where he wrote about Batman going to the Black neighborhood in Gotham, and they're like, what are you doing here? This ain't your place. You don't belong, like how DeMarcus was on Folsom Street. But yeah.
Wait a minute. I belong. I was accepted by the people.
Yeah, in Gotham, I feel like everybody fits the description, right? So,
Yo,
hey, stop.
absolutely.
Hold on. Whoa.
But I think for Booster Gold, like, he's just a dude. And I think part of, like, even if you call him a mediocre white man, and that probably is very much so true, but I think at the same time, like, relatable, right? So, like, he comes back from the future to get rich, right? You know what I mean? Like, he comes back from the future to basically be the greatest superhero. And because he's not great, now he's just like a regular ass dude trying to fight. But like, there's issues where like he's got to fight Doomsday.
Yeah.
And like, he could run away and he could like just say, not my problem, I'm gonna wait until Superman comes. But he gets his ass kicked just long enough, for reinforcements to come. And then, so I think there's something about him.
Is that heroic? because
I think
not
slightly, you know, like he's not a hero, capital H, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna like save the day all the time. But I think, you know, specifically like his friendship with Blue Beetle, it's like that's the quintessential like superhero friendship. Like they're just like two dudes. They opened a whole like Justice League resort on the Justice League's like credit card.
yeah.
Like they're just goofy, you know, and I think I relate to that specifically in the sense of just like if I was a superhero, you know, I don't think I would be Superman or Batman or like, you know what I mean? I'd probably just be doing my damn best. And I feel like Booster Gold is doing his best. And maybe his best isn't, you know, Superman or Batman. Like they tried to give him the moniker of like the greatest hero that nobody knows because he's the keeper of the time stream and like all of this other stuff. And that's cool, but I think I relate to him more just like if Booster Gold saved you, you know what I mean, and like beat up some people trying to mug you, I think he probably would also be like, do you want to get pizza? Or like, hey, you probably would want to hang out with him more than any of the other ones, you know, because even like Nightwing is cool and like Nightwing, but Nightwing's a little too cool, you know, like I don't feel like I could like go kick it with Dick Grayson afterwards, you know what I mean? Like that's like he's like a celebrity. Booster Gold's kind of just like a YouTube celebrity. I mean, like he's that level of fame where it's just like, you know, he's attainable, he's reachable, right?
But then there's also Plastic Man.
Plastic Man's cool.
But cooler than Booster Gold?
Sure. You know, I mean, I'm not saying Booster Gold is the coolest.
Yeah. But Plastic Man is also a superhero who me personally, like, I can see myself hanging out with or just doing nothing with. Like you are over there, I'm over here. We're just chilling. Booster Gold, I feel like Booster Gold would be on his phone the whole time. He's an influencer.
Oh yeah.
He like he's cooler than what I am right now.
Yeah, well, I think like my favorite Booster Gold thing is in this series called 52, where at the beginning of the series he dies, and then they put all of these like advertising stickers on his casket because he still has like advertising obligations to fulfill. So like in his will, he left space on his casket for people to like advertise like cola and like
wow. Yeah, much cooler than what
so he's just a fool, but I don't know, like his goofy charm works on me. So
no, I get the goofy charm, but just being like, oh, I'm a hero for money.
Yeah,
can't do it. You gotta be here for altruistic reasons.
But
like,
also 90% of the time it backfires on him. Like he doesn't get money. Like he gets either he has to like forfeit the money to like do the right thing, or like he gets the money, but it's temporary because it's broke.
Nah,
like a little bit.
Like I hate that trope. I hate that. Oh, like you done all this good and saved the day, but you can't keep the money because these people need it more. I'm like, man, they ain't the ones with the powers. We out.
And I really don't like the little robot companion Skeets. I don't.
Oh, Skeets,
it's
yeah.
like, you know,
I don't know who chose that. Well, I know who chose the name, but like it's not. I think it's too late to change it.
Yeah, it's too late.
I think it meant something different
when in like the 50s. Yeah. But like it seems that Skeets does all the heavy lifting, and then Booster is just okay. That seems like a good idea.
So
or doesn't listen at all and just does the opposite thing.
So Booster, I've read a little bit about Booster Gold, and one thing I've read is that he has just like regular technology from the future that he's using to like save the day in the present. So like a can opener.
Oh no, he's got. So the thing about Booster Gold that's I found fascinating is like he's got in his time superheroes don't exist, but there's a museum that has all of these superhero artifacts, and so he just didn't even like look. He just took random shit. You know what I mean? So like he's got stuff. I don't even think he knows how it works, but he just took like a suit that lets him create like a force field.
Yeah.
So he's like somewhat invulnerable. He took a ring that lets him fly.
Hmm.
And I think he got some other things he like uses sometimes, but like not like I think he's got like some gauntlets that like shoot beams and stuff. But like, yeah, most that's about it. But I'm sure he has other things that he doesn't even know how they work. He just picked them up and went back in time.
Nothing.
So you write, or the last thing that you wrote was Red Sonja. I know nothing about Red Sonja. Can you just explain, give me a rundown of like why I should read Red Sonja and why she isn't just a pinup girl?
So it's interesting because when I got approached to write Red Sonja, I also was not like a super Red Sonja buff. Like I'd seen the movie, I'd read a few of the Gail Simone comics, but like that was basically what I knew.
Gail Simone
And
wrote
I
her?
and I Gail Simone wrote it for about 4 years, something
Oh,
like that.
wow.
Like she's got a substantial run on that, and
Wow.
that's probably the if you were going to start somewhere, I would say start there. The thing about Red Sonja is like a lot of these characters that are in that same vein, like you were saying. I think a lot of people think of them and think pinup girl, or like here's just an excuse to like draw a unreasonably unproportioned woman. Like nobody looks like that, and why would you wear that to fight to the death? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't seem like it's covering
Be bad
enough
at
of your body.
gonna win.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. But so like she's gone through a number of different interpretations, and I got a chance to write two different versions because the first time they let me just create like an alternate version, like they were doing kind of a Spider-Verse take on her where there was like multiple versions of Red Sonja. So I got to do one called Samurai Sonya, which was like basically Sonya in feudal Japan, and like a lot of those things just clicked for me in terms of like the sword and sorcery kind of characters, but also like the feudal Japanese samurai elements. So like I just created a samurai version of her. But like the regular version of Red Sonja, if you think about Wonder Woman, right? And just that vein of like the or Xena, right? Just kind of like the warrior woman, like that archetype. She fits that mold. She's a bit more. She's probably because I think Xena is the spinoff, right? Like Xena is kind of like we're gonna do that, but like put her with
Hercules and all that.
Hercules and all that. So I mean, so it's kind of that vein because she's crass, like she's not like a like
Dainty.
a
Yeah.
yeah, she's definitely not dainty. She's
No.
definitely not. She's heroic. I mean, she is female Conan,
Okay.
basically. You know what I mean? Like she rolls like that. Like if she sees injustice, it's swing the sword first, ask questions later. Like she's not really gonna, diplomat her way out of these situations. And I think, because being a woman in that world, oftentimes she is underestimated by, people that she comes across. And so often, she's kind of forced to just get into it, you know what I mean? And not really ask a lot of questions. So I think the Gail Simone run is probably the place to start if you want to read.
Yeah.
And then there's been subsequent runs recently that I think have done a good job. But she's an interesting character. I mean, she's got a real rich history. Like not all of it's great, but I think that's like most comic book characters who have like this is her 50th year. And it's very confusing. Like I don't understand a lot of how these things work, but similar to Conan, she was a Marvel character initially. So she's got like Marvel ties, and then Dynamite got the rights, and then I think they still have the rights, but then the Conan rights left, but she's like tied with Conan. There's a lot of stuff that's out of my control that I'm not keeping up with, but I think, like as a character, she is very interesting. And this is the other thing I did, which I guess is relevant here. There was another series I wrote, which was Hell Sonja and Red Sonja, which is like Demon Sonja and Red Sonja. But Hell Sonja becomes human, and she's a Black woman. So I made her, I think they're maybe the only Black So
Wow.
but
Okay.
when she was originally like, when you see the demon version of Sonya, like she's black. So I was like, why would she become a white woman
That makes
when
sense.
she became a human?
Yeah.
Like that would be weird. So she's just a black woman. So
I feel like there's been a lot of characters that are like not black colored, but I'm like,
right.
I know that's one of us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the go ahead.
Because you mentioned that you didn't really know the whole story when you started writing on Sonya. Like, how often is that the case where you're like, I don't know anything that's going on here, and I insert right here?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think sometimes when you get, opportunities, right? Like you want to say yes because you want to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't know enough about that, so I'm going to say no. It's like I'm going to figure it out as I do it, and then we're gonna see where it goes. And I think I knew enough about the character, and fortunately, I was able to talk to some of the writers before me just to ask them general questions about, like, you don't tell me everything that's happened, but like, what's your take on this character? What do you think she would do? What do you think she wouldn't do? Because I think part of the thing that you're always trying to balance as a writer is like, not necessarily what do fans want, because if you try to write what readers want, like, you're gonna get it wrong
every time.
because you don't really know what anybody wants.
We
So
don't know
like,
what we want. We don't
yeah,
know. Y'all put it in
but
front of us and we consume.
but you want to write, but you want to be true to the character, right? So you want to understand, like, okay, like, what is something that Wonder Woman would do, what's something Wonder Woman would never do, right? And like, just have that general understanding, and then from there follow with, what would I like to see this character do? Because I think if you try to write for yourself, or at least try to write something that you think is going to be interesting, that's probably more likely to be successful than just trying to write whatever it is you think people might want to write. Because one, if it's not something that you enjoy, people can tell when they read. They'll be like, oh, this person is trying to do, whatever is the hot thing of the moment, or they're definitely trying to just imitate this other story. But also, I think you'll find that even if you're not completely 100% familiar with the character, I think that can be an advantage in some respects, because you're not coming to it with this reverence for them where you're just like, oh man, I've been reading, Spider-Man for like 20 years. I'm like, here's all the things I've always wanted to see Spider-Man do, as opposed to like, what's just a good story? You know what I mean? Like, what's something that would be interesting to see this character do? So I felt at once a little intimidated, in the sense of like, man, I hope, like, I'm definitely not writing Red Sonja in the way of like, here's just a sexy woman with a sword. Like, I wanted to add depth and character, and like do things where, she's kind of forced to, confront certain things that maybe are not necessarily traumatic, but like are going to bring change to her as a character. She's not just going to be like a stagnant character for like 4 or 5 issues. Yeah. But at the same time, like, because I wasn't like, I've read every issue of Red Sonja.
Oh, really?
No, like I read just the Gail Simone stuff.
Oh,
So
okay,
like,
okay,
I
okay.
wasn't coming at it with like, oh man, like, I know every single thing that's ever happened to this character. It's like, what would just be a cool thing to see happen? And that's kind of what I followed. So it can be different, and in certain places, like working with DC, and like doing, like, I did a Star Wars short story one time, like, they'll give you things to read. They'll say, start here, and this is kind of what we're picking off of. So even in that sense, it's kind of like, you don't have to know everything, because they'll tell you what you need to know, and then you can kind of go from there.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta check out Red Sonja. I didn't know that Gail Simone wrote for her. And if you don't know, Gail Simone wrote some great issues of New X-Men, I believe. Yeah, some of the pivotal issues of New X-Men that really defined those characters. Speaking of, what are you reading now? What comics have you picked up?
Put me
But
on.
yeah, I'm
about
I'm
to check
so
out.
behind on so many things, because like, I think it's with anything that you do, right? Like, once you start to do it, you don't have time to enjoy it as a hobby like you used to. So like, I used to just read them like back to back to back. Like on Wednesday, I would just like sit down, go through the pile. Now it's like I'm watching the pile grow in front of my eyes every week. But let's see a couple of the things that I picked up recently. Cyborg, which is written by fellow Milestone Initiative stablemate Morgan Hampton. He's been doing that, and that just came back. So the third issue just came out this past week.
Yeah.
And that's been good because I feel like Cyborg is one of those characters who just like never gets the series he deserves. Like they always start and stop.
Yeah.
Sort of like Luke Cage. Like he kind of gets 5 issues and they're like, nah, we're not doing that no more. But it's like, you know, people want to see it. So I think this one hopefully is one that is going to stick around. I picked up a bunch of number ones of like new issues. Like I picked up the new Wonder Woman.
That is so good. I was just talking about that last week. It
is
so good.
I really enjoyed that. And that's another one where like Wonder Woman kind of just starts and stops. Like people kind of pick it up and then they never really stick with it. But hopefully that's one that keeps going because I really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think of a book that I got recently that is kind of like a more independent book. There's a couple that I've been reading. There's a book called World Tree by James Tynion, which is like it's crazy. It's a crazy book. It's like if the internet
was possessed.
Yeah, like not even was just possessed, but it was like, you know, was a thing that always existed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a thing that people invented, but like it was a thing that kind of was always. There's the internet that we know, and then there's like like underneath that, like this kind of evil thing that's kind of always been lurking, and that started to come out back into the world. That's been good. I've enjoyed that. I want to say, let me just kind of look into these books that I just picked up because I was
put me on.
Sirens of the City is a book that's coming out from Boom from Joanne Starr and Carrie Randolph, and that's great.
Carrie Randolph?
Yeah. He's doing the art on that, and that's fantastic.
Carrie Randolph did some of the actually Robert Kirkman found him and he did some issues of Invincible, which are amazing.
I would definitely check that out. Oh, and then this is one of the ones that I really like. It's called Damn Them All, which is from Boom.
I read that.
And that's like it's Simon Spurrier who was writing Hellblazer for DC, and then they canceled that book, and then he was like, what if I just did that on my own? So he took a lot of like the Hellblazer stuff and did like gender swapped it, so it's this woman who's kind of like this, starts off kind of like as a magician's apprentice, but then like becomes more or less like a underworld expert, and she's kind of dealing with these coins that have gotten out into the world that like basically control demons. So like if you have a coin, you can summon a demon and like make it do whatever you want, but of course like all the worst people have the coins. Like there's nothing good you could do with a demon, so it's not even like if a good person got a demon, like things would go better, but like
they all the time. What are you talking
about? But yeah, like that one's been really interesting. So I think, you know, I'm catching up. Like X-Men is something that I don't know if I'm ever going to get current on, because like I'm trying to read the multiple books and I love it, but I'm just like, I remember 2016, we were just like, damn, when are they going to bring the X-Men back? And now it's like 2023, half the Marvel line is X-Men. And it's just like, I don't know. I appreciate that they want to keep it interconnected, you know, because it kind of makes you have to at least pay attention to things. But at a certain point, I was just like, I don't think I'm going to read Excalibur. I'm sorry. Like I like everything that's happening here, but like, damn, that's so many books to read simultaneously to try to understand everything that's happening.
The entire world. Excalibur isn't that great. But I recommended to DeMarcus to read Immortal X-Men.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
And it
Read.
goes through the council, and it kind of goes off on if you want to know more about blah blah blah, you might go check out their book. But if you don't,
Right.
this is like the whole world from the top.
Right.
So yeah, Immortal X-Men is where I would start, but X-Men recently has gotten really good because
Yeah.
all of this stuff has come together with Fall of X, and it's
Mhm.
gotten even better.
I haven't gotten into stuff yet, but I read Hellfire Gala, and I took
Yeah.
this on
Oh,
another
you
episode.
finished it?
Yeah, I finished it. And like I felt like they did that common trope where it's like, oh, everything goes to disaster because all your enemies show up, and I'm like, I was so excited about this whole gala thing that they were doing, and like what was gonna come out of that. But now you just like destroyed it all. I don't know, and I haven't read anything after Hellfire Gala, but it feels like they just kind of like do a reset, and I'm like, I get tired of resets.
Yeah, if they go back to the mansion, I'm just not. I'm just. I
I
just
don't
can't.
think you can go back to the mansion. Like I understand, just that general like I think Bruce Wayne technically still is poor or not
Yeah,
rich, but
yeah.
like he's gonna have the mansion again. Like all these things are gonna reset back to zero.
Mm-hmm.
But for the X-Men, I feel like this is such a necessary status quo. Like after all this time for them to actually have this level of independence, like it would feel like a huge step down for them to go from having an independent nation, which is what everything has been culminating towards, for them to just go back to Westchester, New
Yeah,
York.
yeah,
New mutants in the mansion. Like they just come across the mansion, like stuff still works. They just boot it up, and it's like, oh, we can help people in Manchester, New York, or wherever.
Nah.
They could for sure have the mansion, but like you can't unless Krakoa literally blows up,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then they still have Mars. So unless Mars also blows up.
Yeah, the mansion is in ruins. It's what it needs to be. Because I don't need him to go back to the mansion. I'm glad that the professor is sad on the island by himself because, as I've said on previous podcasts, he is the worst villain in all the comic books.
Just that can read minds. That's all he is. Stop putting him on this pedestal. He's just a guy. A big argument was that he that we had was he used his mind control powers to manipulate. I forget the lady's name.
His
Beast?
son's mother.
Was it Legion's mother or was it?
I think it was Legion's
Yeah,
mom.
Legion's
I think it
mother.
was Legion.
Yeah, he manipulated her to make her fall in love with him.
You got to be careful of the words you choose because when you say manipulate, that paints an immediate picture like he was like harassing her, that that he forced himself. But
He did.
if we
He
to say he
manipulated
used
her mind.
powers to like his powers to like boost his own charisma, that's something I would do if I had mind control powers.
I
Like
don't
I would.
know. I mean, they've also had stories where he was like creepy hitting on Jean. There's
Thank
also had
you.
stories where like
We talked about
he like
Saw some of those. He thought it. He never said it out loud.
I don't know.
With
Yeah.
him, man, his mind is reality. He can bring from reality like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like the professor with layers and like not being like a goody two shoes altruistic, through and through. But it's also like he's got some things to answer for.
Yeah.
That I feel like as much as they've tried to paint him both ways, it's like it's almost I feel like there's got to be the way that Reed Richards has the maker of like what would it be like if Reed Richards just didn't give a fuck and like did whatever he wanted to. Like that version of Professor X is terrifying. You know what I mean? He was just like, I don't care, and I'm just gonna do. I mean, he's basically like Purple Man, more or less.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna do, horrible things. So
Yeah. So what is one character that you wish that you could like take hold of and write?
You bastard. That was my question.
Oh shoot, sorry. You can ask
It's
it.
all right. It's all right. No, it's already been
Let's
asked.
ask like Jared didn't ask the question. You
Yeah,
can
we can. I'll
No,
edit this
no,
part
it's,
out.
it's already been said. It's too late. It's too late. Go ahead. Go ahead. Answer, brother. Answer, brother. I
Okay.
got a
I
question.
mean, let's take we'll take Booster Gold off the board because that's the obvious one that I would want to do. But I feel like there's a couple that I look at and I wonder like the possibilities of like what these characters could do. Because my biggest issue is that I don't really have an interest in a Batman or a Spider-Man or like these legacy characters that have been around for 50, 60 years because not even like there's nothing new that you can do with them. But I feel like in that time so many characters have been created that
Mhm.
people have been like, all right, we're done with that. And I'm like, but are we done with that? Like what if we did something with that? You know what I mean? Like they're just sitting around and not really getting to do much
I
of
think
anything. Like what?
I think the comics world has really missed an opportunity to like have heroes for every generation. Like maybe your
Mhm.
grandparents, they loved Superman and Batman, but then you were all about Dick Grayson and uh the other Robins and stuff. And then now they're on Luke Fox's son being visionary, luminary, illusionary.
Yeah.
Jerry, what's his name?
Are you talking about Spectrum, Monica Rambeau?
No, no, Luke Fox son.
Oh yeah, Luke Fox,
Yeah.
Batwing.
Oh, never mind but yeah, like that sort of thing, I feel like is a big miss. But
Yeah. Well, because for example, I like Duke Thomas.
mhm.
I feel like he's
Me
a character that
too. Me
like,
too. Oh my God, me too.
yeah, he's hanging at the Bat Mansion, you know what I mean? Like eating the food and kind of being on monitor duty, I guess, or
He was
you
in
know,
that B class Batman superhero team. What are they called? The Outcast. He
well,
was in the Outcast.
yeah, Batman was like, why don't you go over here with Black Lightning for a little bit and be an
Yeah.
outsider? And I think, he's somebody who I mean, like we were just talking about, like, okay, so you've got Gotham, which I don't know if I mean, Gotham is such a wide and varied place, but I still feel like in all of Gotham, he's the only black super. He's the only one, and the way
Yeah.
that he came up because he was one of those like outlaw Robins, who kind of took over that mantle and then like came up and was in. So I feel like he definitely has not necessarily just like a rebellious side in spirit, but I think he's also more in tune with like people. You know what I mean? Like living in not like on the street, but I mean, he's talking to people, he's in the neighborhood, he's got, leads on stuff. And I always feel like, especially in a place like Gotham, like people take for granted that Batman just has everything under control and like is helping everyone, but not really. I don't
Yeah.
think that's definitely the case. And even with all of the different Bat family, like I think because his powers allows him to operate during the day. That's kind of like his whole deal was like he
Yeah.
was like man during the day. I think there's a lot of interesting things that you could do with him. Marvel wise, like I'm a fan of like all of the mutants that like get put to the side. Like I like Shark Girl and like all of
Mm,
like the weird like kid characters. And I always feel like that's one of the more interesting parts, like with new X-Men, where they were really focusing on the mansion. They introduced the Cuckoos, they introduced Quentin Quire and like all these other characters. Like I think that's such an interesting element. Like if Marvel, like doing like the movies and stuff, is smart, I think what they'll try to do is make the X Mansion like Harry Potter and
Mm,
like introduce all these like young mutant kids who are like just trying to figure out their powers and have like this really interesting kind of dynamic of because when you think about the X Mansion, like it's kind of a weird place, right?
yeah.
Like the X Mansion and Avengers Mansion, because like Avengers Mansion is like you work here, but you live here, but also like you're dating the people on the team and then you're breaking up with them, but then you're all living in the same house,
Mhm.
and then you have to go like
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It's a whole, but then in the X Mansion, it's like I'm a kid who just learned that they're a mutant going to a school where there's a superhero team that maybe I'm expected to become a member of, possibly, but
On
like,
top of all of, well, some of New York is actively, and the government is
yeah,
actively sending robots to your house to kill you.
right.
So,
This place blows up every few months,
yeah.
and then I still have class. I still have to turn in that paper. You know what I mean? And like, so,
Um,
but I like those kids because I think there's really like a lot of interesting things to do with them. Where it's just like, do I want to be a superhero? Like, is that a thing that I actually want to do? Because like being an X-Men is kind of scary, and like maybe I just not want to get like a regular job, but I certainly don't want to fight Magneto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Havoc never wanted to be a X-Men. He wanted to get his degree. And Firestorm never wanted to be X-Men either. She just wanted to go to college.
yeah.
But from what you're saying, I hate quality of life animes, but I would love to see one about Beak and his girlfriend and their
Hmm.
family.
just about to say B.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or also the Guthries, like their
Hmm.
whole family dynamic, like just not them finding X-Men, just like days in the life.
Yeah, I think now with Krakoa, there is if there's anything that's been lost, I did kind of like Mutant Town in New York or like that area of San Francisco that was kind of like where all the mutants live because it did kind of feel like this cultural thing where like hey, here's just humans doing all this other stuff, but then like you kind of stumble upon this weird part of town where like they're doing all because like that's kind of what Grant Morrison introduced was like mutant culture as like mutant music, mutant fashion, mutant art, all these things that people kind of took for granted as like mutants just do what humans do.
Mhm.
But there's probably all kinds of like mutants can probably see colors we can't see, hear sounds we can't hear, like experience time and things differently. Like there's a lot of interesting ways that you could kind of go about that. And I always thought it was interesting just to like think about what it would be like for all the kids who are like, yeah, but what if I just want to be like a teacher or like a
Regular day.
mechanic or
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't want to I don't want to go to the moon or fight the brood. Like I just want to do normal things.
Exactly.
'Cause,
Exactly.
I always think about the mutants who don't have like these flashy, like save the world kind of powers, like beak. Like my mutant power is I have a beak. Like,
Yeah, his mutant powers is he's a chicken.
yeah. What if my mutant power is just that, like, my voice is really deep? Like, what am I? What
Or
am I?
like Glob Herman, like I'm just inside out. Like
Right,
Yeah.
that's all I
Uh,
got.
Yeah.
I got, and I can't. It doesn't do anything special. I can't like
No.
throw it at anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what they would do because they're definitely not like, oh, I want to be an X-Man. It's like I'm
Yeah.
out of that team.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let me cut this off here because we could literally talk for hours. Yeah, we gotta leave here. This segment, I gotta say some for a part two.
Hmm.
Putting that in the air. Gotta say some for a part two. We're gonna leave this segment for right now, and we're gonna come right back with the questions.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Whose favorite part? Your favorite part, his favorite part, their favorite part. Questions coming soon. BGE. Pause.
Stop that. We're not doing that.
You're not doing it? Oh, I mean, we're 31
Doing that.
episodes in. We're 31 episodes in, and people love it. I don't
No,
know.
no, they don't.
They tell me they love it. That's what they always say. I don't. Okay. Okay. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. You made it this far in the pod. You made it to your favorite part. Questions, questions, questions. We answer questions from our listeners like you. Once again, if you want to submit a question, you can go to Instagram or TikTok at Black Geek Energy. You can go to Twitter at or X BGE underscore
Don't call it
pod.
that,
And it's
please.
called X. They want to be called X. I'm
His,
sorry.
his,
We have
his
to
mama
respect.
named him Twitter. We gonna call him Twitter.
Okay. All right. All right. On Twitter, BGE underscore pod, and then at Gmail at Black Geek Energy. Sorry about that. Black Geek Energy at gmail.com. Without further ado, let's dive in. So, Jordan, this one is for you. This one is for you. Can you share an instance where you faced a creative dilemma or challenge in your writing, and how did you navigate through it?
Um, I think with every story that I write, I'm always trying to think about ways that I can kind of push things forward in ways that I haven't before. Like I look at every story as like, all right, last time I did this, and maybe that was successful, or maybe I didn't do quite what I wanted to do. So like how can I kind of push myself with this
Mm-hmm.
one? And I think specifically for the Aqualad story, um, the two things I really wanted to get across were that Jackson is gay and Jackson is black, right? And like one of those things you can very much see, and one of those things like he's not going to let you forget. So like that's what I wanted to do for the character. And I think for me, what I found challenging was not necessarily like DC was very open to the things that I wanted to do, which it
Oh,
wasn't necessarily surprising to me, but I just was anticipating maybe
some
some
pushback,
pushback, where I
some,
was like,
some.
because in a previous issue of Teen Titans, I want to say, like, we meet Jackson for the first time, and one of the first things we see is like his boyfriend at the time, like, traumatically dump him because he finds out that he's got powers and like just like leaves him in the middle of the desert. And I was like, let this black boy have some love, in his
Mhm.
life. Let him find somebody
Right.
who's gonna appreciate him, and him not only just like falling for this other person who has powers, but also is like, there's also Zebellion, and that's like allowing him to like tap into part of his culture that he hasn't really had access to before, right? And so, you know, I think the biggest challenge for me in that was like you only got two issues, right? Like you got two issues. You have to connect this two-part story to a larger story that's happening elsewhere in the Aquaman, world. So like how do I do this in a way that doesn't feel like we're just rushing through to get to the other side, but like allows Jackson to have a spotlight and also like deal with a lot of different things. Like we're dealing with generational trauma. We're dealing with, him kind of trying to figure out who he's going to be, moving forward. Son of a supervillain.
Mhm.
Mentor is your father's greatest enemy, but also, like with him, with Kid Flash, and with a couple of others, like you're a black character who is underneath a white mentor, and you're trying to reestablish this mantle in a way that like means something to you,
Mhm.
because like as a black hero, like people are going to look at you and it's
Always.
going to be different. You know what I mean? Like when Sam Wilson became Captain America, that was different, right? When Riri Rose became Iron Man or Ironheart, that was different, right? So like when Jackson becomes Aquaman, like it's not going to be the same, and how is he going to deal with that, and who's he going to be coming out on the other side of that? So I think for me, that was something that I tried to take very seriously, and like it can be scary, because you're just like, man, did I do that right? Did I mess that up? Was that, did I get everything that I wanted to say in there and make it feel cohesive? And like, thankfully, I feel like the feedback was yes. Um,
Mhm.
but that's always a challenge, especially when you get an opportunity, right? Like that was a big opportunity for me to kind of like
Major, brother, major.
sink or
Hats off to you.
swim.
Hats off to
Uh,
you. Hats off
yeah,
to you.
but it's also kind of like you want to be true to yourself, and you want to be true to the story, but also like there's superhero comics generally, you know what I mean? Like I'm friends with, people like, Vita Ayala and a few other people who like when you hear the way that people talk to them because they made an X-Man do something that they didn't like, and you're just like, bruh, this is a comic.
Come on now.
You're getting a little too, you know what I mean? Just because these two characters you wanted to get together didn't get together, or just because like one character said something to another character that you didn't think they would, like, all of a sudden it's like death threats and like wild stuff that's just like we're getting a little too up in arms. So I think that's the other thing too, is just like understanding that even though you're just trying to do a job, you know you're just trying to make some art, there are always going to be people who are going to get out of pocket, and like understanding that you have to find a way to be above that, even if it is just like I'm just gonna delete these social media apps and live my life.
Has it gotten to that point for you?
It hasn't gotten to that point for me.
Okay.
I have some projects that are coming out that I'm like, we might
Yeah.
we might have to mute some keywords
for a couple weeks. For a couple weeks, come back.
So yeah, that's Aquaman 62 and 63. I really, really recommend those. Those are vital issues to the Aquaman story.
The next questions for everyone. We have Sam with Wiki from Twitter. He asks, "What's the biggest lie you're still telling?"
The biggest lie I'm still.
What's the biggest lie you're still telling? All right, Sam. I had one. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. Y'all gotta think about it.
No, it was some cooking from a family member. I'm not gonna go too much in detail. I'll go more in detail. It's the pod. Oh man, it was like Thanksgiving last year or something like that. And one of my aunts, man, I don't know if it's the medication she's taking or something, but the mac was dry, turkey was dry, greens unseasoned. I was like, yeah, it was great. Threw the whole plate away. I know it's not too major, but it's a lie I've been telling. And Thanksgiving is coming up, so if you hear this, Auntie, I'm not coming over. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just about to say, you going to that same Thanksgiving again?
No, sir, no, sirski. I'm sorry. I love her to death.
Give you official.
Yeah, my mom burnt the collard greens last year, and she hasn't heard the end of it to this day. So, yeah, that's not my grandmother's recipe. May she rest in peace. The biggest lie I'm telling, I don't know what to say, cause I don't know. Okay, I will. I'll tell y'all what the biggest lie on my resume is. The biggest lie on my resume is that I worked for the CDC. I did work for the CDC for a day, and then my contract ended with that job. So I worked with them for a day. My contract ended, but on my resume, I worked with the CDC for that whole entire year. So that's the biggest lie on my resume that I'm still telling to this day.
Sounds more like a soft patch of the truth.
Yeah.
Man, biggest lie I'm still telling. I'm not sure this is the biggest lie I'm still telling, but this is a lie I'm still telling. I dated two women in high school. This is 10, 15 years past now. But while I was dating one, they found out about the other, and they came about us. Marcus, you dating this other girl? And I was like, no, of course not. Like, why would I do that? And years passed, and like each of them have confronted me individually about this time in our lives. Like, hey, I know. Say that happened when we were 16, at another point we're like 23. They're like, hey, I know you were dating this other girl while you was dating me. You can admit it. It was like 5 years ago. I was like, no, that didn't happen. And then, it happens again at like 27. They're like, hey, I know it happened. Like I talked to the girl, we exchanged numbers. We had the same one friend that connected us. And I'm like, nah, that's not what happened. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a lot. That's the lie I'm still telling. So, and if they were to call, if either of them were to call me today, I would stick with with it. That's what I want.
Gotta see it through. Gotta see it through.
I don't know if
Y'all
I have
hear
a
me?
good one. I guess mine is people ask if I've seen Twin Peaks, and I say yes because I watched the first 3 episodes. I don't know what happens after that. I gotta watch it. I think that maybe that's the thing I gotta do this year. But like everybody's like, yeah, like you watched the new Twin Peaks season. I'm like, I
Mhm.
do that a lot when people ask me things, and it's not necessarily that like I'm lying intentionally, but it's just like I know you want to talk to me about it, so I'll just say yes, so you can say clearly you have something to say. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If I say no, then this conversation is over. So
Yeah. Yeah.
don't spoil anything too much for me, and then I'll just get around to it later. But chances are, in the last 3 or 4 years, if you ask me, I've been better about it. But like, if you ask me if I've seen something, maybe I haven't. But
Hmm.
chances are I probably haven't.
It's like I'm trying to figure out what show that was. I never watched, but I've heard so many people talking about it in passing. It's like I watched the show, but I've never. I'm trying to think what show is that. Go
Well,
ahead, go
mine
ahead.
is Full Metal Alchemist.
Wait a minute. Fullmetal Alchemist or Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Both.
Watch this.
There's two. I know. I never seen the show. Like that's my lie. I've never seen the show. No, it was on Toonami, and like I could like every time I would turn to it, it was like on episode 15 or 3. I was like, I gotta see this from the
On
beginning. So
Netflix at this have no excuse.
You could just
I'm
dove
watching
in.
other things right now. I
Mm.
just started reading The Great Cleric and yeah, The Real
They got
Housewives of Huntsville. So no,
what's this knife?
Garrett,
Cut him
put it
out the
back
pot.
down.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
close. We don't ask for much on here.
Wow. Okay, I'll do better.
I'm sorry, Jared. Third question. It's on you, brother.
Okay. My question is, what is the best video game boss that you guys have ever played?
Mm, the best boss.
I'll start. Um, First of all, my best boss sequence was the stadium in Kingdom Hearts 2. That was the best run of bosses I've ever played in my life, and I did it multiple times. I'm trying to beat Sephiroth, not Sephiroth, Cloud. I don't know who was at the end, but the end battle was very difficult. But that was the best boss sequence versus a run of bosses. But the best boss that I ever defeated was the first Valkyrie in God of War. And
Mm,
I fought this Valkyrie for 3 whole weeks.
3 weeks.
Yes. So I was at because, okay, Air was saying the Valkyries are hard, the Valkyries are hard. So I waited till the very end of the game. I was like, okay, time for me to do these side quests. So I went to this first Valkyrie. I think it was the first or second. It's the one that wasn't part of the story. So I went to
Mm.
this Valkyrie. I could not beat her. Couldn't beat her. For 3 weeks, I stayed. I just kept doing that one part. Then I cut off the game for a month. And then when I cut it back on, I said, okay, let me try this Valkyrie again. If I
Up a
don't
little.
get it,
Pause.
what
All
happened?
right, go ahead. It was real.
You were breaking up. You were real choppy.
Oh shoot, sorry. Okay, so I cut off the game for a month. Then I went back and I just beat the Valkyrie in like 2 times. Then I destroyed the rest of the Valkyries until the Queen, and I beat that at 3 times. I was like, this wasn't that
Wow.
difficult. I don't know what
The
was
queen
wrong with me a
be
month ago.
like a bunch of tries. Like I was fighting her like over and over. Like run it back, run it back, run it back.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
Crazy. I think the hardest boss the best boss I fought, and also one of the hardest is from actually God of War Ragnarok. And it's like it's not Odin. Odin was easy. It was the like the final like King Froth or something
Oh
like
my
that, who had
god.
the yeah, like that fight was hard and it was good. And it wasn't, I think there's a very thick line between like this boss is hard and it's fun versus like this boss is hard and it's impossible and I'm not having a good time no more, but I can't stop. And that was,
Yeah.
I think it was right there. It was right at the sweet spot. I was like, oh, this is great. Like I've lost it. 4 times. I beat it. I've played 3 more times. And I was like, okay, I won. I was like, all right, I can put this down. I don't have to stay up for the rest. I don't have to fight this guy for 3 weeks. You can't focus on nothing else.
Wow, you just comfort me. But yeah,
For me, mine isn't as sexy as you are. I'll take it back to the Pokemon games, Fire Red. And we get to the Elite Four, we go through all 4. We think we're done. And guess what? Our rival, our childhood rival, they're ready. So that's like one of my favorite boss battles because I'm always ready for that ass. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Nah, Pokemon was Pokemon was fucking around with that one.
Man.
Pokemon completely white. I've used every potion at my disposal.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with DeMarcus in the sense of like I play games where this just isn't fun. You know what I mean? Like I played the whole like the last Arkham game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the part where you're in the Batmobile trying to get past the Arkham Knight, like in the underground tunnel, and it's just like all this random shit is flying at you. It's just like I'll just watch the cutscenes on YouTube. Like if that's how I got to figure out how this ends, because like this is just getting so frustrating. I also have, I mean, the original God of Wars, I think it's God of War 2 with Zeus, was a very satisfying boss battle, but we've everybody else has said God of War. So I'm gonna go with the last boss in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like that like trilogy sequence where like you gotta beat them 3 times. Because like the first time I did that in the arcade was like the best feeling, especially because when you're putting the quarters in,
man,
and you gotta like actually do it, like
on.
that's amazing. And then thankfully, thanks to the amazing futuristic technology that lets me play X-Men the arcade game on my PlayStation, like finally beating Magneto after I don't know how many years of like never being able to get to the end of that game because I always ran out of quarters. The thing those arcade games did where they're like, hey, do you remember every boss you fought? Now fight them again in sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And then fight the actual boss at the end of the game. And I was like, this is impossible. This is ridiculous, And like, obviously, you want my allowance for the week. Like, you want me to give you $50 in quarters just to get to the end of this.
In 2 hours.
But now I've got infinite continue, so I can play this as much as I want.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Marvel vs. Capcom was that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, we used to play. We spent hours playing that in college.
Yeah, we did. We did actually had a bunch of folks over taking rounds. I got a couple wins in, but it was good.
This is me.
Because this guy, let me tell you about this guy. This he bought the book. He went to YouTube. He was like, okay, let's figure out all these combinations. Who's the best character? Okay, let's watch this Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournament. How did they use Dr. Doom? Okay, this is how I use them. Okay, perfect. And next thing you know, he's just spamming Dr. Doom. Now nobody can get anything off.
That kick.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. And this is the final question for you, Jordan. Go ahead.
Hey.
Go ahead. You said what, brother?
I was saying, me and you thinking it's a casual game. We're all just here to have a good time.
Man,
I'm prepared.
Very competitive. I mean, it was out of nowhere. We're just chilling. Hey, Jared. He didn't say anything. He just sat down, got the game.
There's always that one person, whether it's Mario Kart or Smash Brothers, where everybody's just having fun. Not them.
No,
This is life or death.
Yeah, you didn't see me in Yu-Gi-Oh because I had a whole deck only to beat DeMarcus's deck.
He literally constructed an entire deck. He had illegal cards. He had illegal cards.
I didn't know they were illegal until we went to the tournament.
We went to the comic book store, went to a tournament. Hold on, what's this? You can't have that. You can't have that. Next thing you know, 30 cards are gone.
I mean, the 8-year-olds were killing me, but with DeMarcus's deck, I could slaughter DeMarcus. DeMarcus was dead, and I could do it over and over again. He had no tactics against me, and I loved it.
They got rid of your illegal cards. Like, let's be clear. All right.
And this is the last question for you, Jordan. What inspired you? What was like your driving force to do what you do today? Like, what was that like? Because I'm an English teacher. I'm an ELA teacher. And for my kids, it's not impossible to get them to write. I just have to make them want to write, if that makes sense. So what's something that kind of gets you going, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of comics specifically,
Mm-hmm.
I tell this story and I don't know, my mom is kind of like, the first time she heard it, she was like, why am I just learning about this now? Because I remember in college, like I went to Hampton originally, and then I went to Morgan State to finish up, and I had a teacher there who was like comics, science fiction, like everything, like it was just like pushing it on us. And so like he kind of started getting me back into comics, but then when the Dark Knight came out,
Mhm.
I skipped my first class of the of the day to go see it like first thing. And like it was amazing because I looked around and like there were people clearly in suits to go to work who also had skipped work to come and see this movie, and we all just looked at each other. And after that first sequence with the Joker at the bank, we were all just like, we made the right decision. Like,
That's like the best opening scene for a
yeah,
comic book movie. Oh man.
but that like drove me to like, okay, so wait, these are all based on comics? Like these are all like all of this is coming from a specific source. And I started to get back into reading comics. And I think for me, like what drives me initially, it was just like I'm a visual thinker, and that's kind of how I think about stories and think about, art. And so like I'm always like seeing things play out, kind of like a mini movie, I guess. And so when I was thinking of story, I was like, oh, well, I'll just make movies. And then after once I started getting back into comics, I was like, comics are a little cheaper than making a movie, and you need less people. It's probably a simpler equation, and like kind of true, kind of not. But as I've gone along, I think, what really drives me and inspires me is that, representation is real. It's like it's a real thing. You know what I mean? I think people kind of take it for granted in the sense of, what can fiction, what can stories do for people. But when you look at the stories that inspire, I'm sure all of us here, but like what you feel when you read, a great story, what you feel when you watch a great movie, when you feel when you listen to a great song, and like that inspiration that it gives you to do so many different things in life, like for me, being able to do something, whether it inspires you, in any way. Like I don't feel like art needs to have value in that specific way. Like I feel like art can just be a thing,
Exist.
and you can
Right.
certainly make art with no intention of it being anything or even sharing it with anybody. Just, it helps you do whatever you need to do. But specifically, like after I did that Aqualad story, like I had people write to me and say, this is the first time, and I've been reading comics for 20 years. This is the first time I saw myself in a comic book. And, like I don't take that lightly. You know what I mean? Like that's a real
Yeah.
thing. And like now I think my biggest inspiration to write is just to like try to put down some of what I see in the world, in my community, into these stories, because I feel like the next step when we're talking about representation is us being allowed to be ourselves and not expected to be perfect, or not expected to exist as like,
Exceptional
the
Negro.
yeah, the best of the best of the best. Like I want to, when I think about Michael K. Williams and a lot of the characters that he played and a lot of the things that he would talk about, it is being able to represent and tell stories about people who don't get to have their stories told, right?
That's all.
And I think that's my inspiration now, is being able to capture people or tell stories about people who aren't exceptional people, who are, the best, people, best representations of people, but like are still very human and very messy and have all of these things going on. But it doesn't mean that their stories aren't valuable, and it doesn't mean that like you shouldn't be able to see them as superheroes or see them as, like the protagonist of these stories. And I really feel like that's, if you're thinking about your students, right? I think about when I was in school.
Right.
Great Gatsby's a good book. I like it. You know what I mean? I don't have anything against it. But like if you let me read Invisible Man in school, or if you let me read like, you know what I mean, like Beloved, or like you let me read like some of
They're
these.
reading Kindred now.
Yeah, we are. So we're
Right.
my 8th through 10th grade class. We're working through Kindred. My older kids, they're multicultural. So we're doing I Am Malala about the young girl who got shot in the eye, fighting against the Taliban, stuff like that. But in regards to superhero, my kids love my 6th graders. They're the youngest group. They love it. So we're definitely I put it in front of them, Aqualad, but we're probably gonna read that not next week.
Yeah.
Next month. They're definitely gonna just tear that up because when I tell you they're big comic book kids, like it was just like what, like, so yeah, we're definitely gonna
Yeah.
dive.
I mean, even stuff like Bitterroot or you
Yeah.
know, yeah, things that
I'm
I'm
always
just
taking
like,
suggestions. Hold on.
yeah, if I had a chance, I mean, there's like historical books about, you know, like Black people in the past that I'm like, man, you know, if I had the chance to read that in school, like not only would I have read more books, but I definitely would have been more engaged, because it's not necessarily like everything has to be about Blackness or Black people, but like when everything you're seeing is through a predominantly white gaze, and everything that you're interacting with is like, not only does it not involve you, but like you are definitively you're definitively over here. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to see yourself as being, you know, important, because it trickles down from the fiction that you read to the history that you hear to like all these other things. But when you're able to see yourself and see others, I think that's the beautiful thing about art too. It's like I learned so much about different cultures, reading books, reading fiction, watching movies, you know what I mean? Like being able to experience things from another perspective, you know, and if I can deliver that through my art, like that's always my biggest inspiration, is to be able to do that. So yeah, like for kids, there's more stuff available now than there's ever been, you know, and I feel like as much as, you know, they can be exposed to just a variety of things, whether it's comics, but you know, like there's so many different, whether it's like animated shows, whether it's you know, video games, whatever it is that can like grab their attention, you know, and kind of spark that creativity, like that's, go to that, you know, that's the thing.
Totally.
It's a
Yeah, because we're
kitty.
small. Okay.
As a kid, yeah, she's like
Oh, hey.
trying to get in the shot, but she's also just like wants all the attention. So
No,
yeah.
totally. Well, Jordan, man, it was great talking with you, great chatting with you, man. It's been awesome. It's been awesome. I can't wait for
Yeah,
part 2.
absolutely.
You wanna shout out anything? You wanna plug anything? Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, there's nothing. The only thing I can plug right now
Mhm.
is Samurai Sonya is being collected into a trade, so that's coming out October 20th. So that should be in
Cool.
every comic book store. Or if it's not going to be, you can tell your comic book store to order it for you. But it's also available on Amazon and all the other places. I have some projects that are coming out next year that I can't say anything about
Mhm.
specifically. But you know, they should be coming out early next year, and then a little bit later next year. Um,
Exciting.
What about
yeah.
white folks? White folks won't save you.
Oh boy. Yeah. So I do a podcast with my friend Cameron that's called White People Won't Save You. And it's all about the ridiculous white savior movies that have been going on.
Decades.
You could call Birth of a Nation a white savior movie if you want to, you know what I mean? Like since way back then. And each week we watch one, but then we reimagine it through a black and POC lens. So like what would these movies be like if we just got to be the center of the story, like it seems like we should be, you know, when you think about things like The Help, or you think about things like Green Book, it's like Mahershala Ali lived above Rockefeller Center, or Carnegie Hall, rather. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, why am I why am I watching a movie about the white man that drives him around? Where like this man not only lives above Carnegie Hall, apparently he's friends with like Aretha Franklin, and like all, like that's way more interesting than what's happening here. Like, tell me that story. So yeah, it's we try to be funny and like, you know, make fun of these movies because a lot of them are crazy and absurd. But we also try to have just real topics and conversations about representation in Hollywood and film. So White People Won't Save You. If you want to check us out, we've got a lot of episodes. We've seen a lot of movies.
It will be plugged. It will be plugged. It will be plugged.
Anything, because we're just on episode 31, before we leave, anything that you could tell us, any hints or tricks you can tell us with our new fledgling podcast?
Absolutely. Well, I think the thing that we've learned just going through this is like one, if you need to take a break, do that, because we just did that over the summer. Like we were doing an episode a week for like a year and a half, and like my partner Cameron was like, I gotta live. I gotta get out in the world. Like I can't do this as consistently. So now we're going bi-weekly. um but I think so. That's number one. Like, your mental health or like anything going on in your life is more important than the podcast. Like, you don't have to jump in here if things are going on in life where you feel like you probably need to step back a little bit. Two, we've had a lot of success. Like, we don't have a podcast network or anything like that. But we've been able to, like, Raywood Jr. was on our show. Rod from The Black Guy Who Tips was on our show. Um, uh Basti Ipke was on their show. Like, we've had people who I just cold emailed and was like, would you like to do this with us? And they surprisingly say yes. A lot of people have not responded to my emails or have said no, but like, we've had a lot of success just reaching out to people. So I would say don't be afraid to, like, if you're looking for guests, if you want to have some people on, like, the worst thing that can happen is you don't hear back. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but you might be surprised. People might be like, hey, this sounds fun. This sounds like a cool thing to do. So I would not be afraid to put yourselves out there, because I think podcasting and podcasts in general are so, everybody's got one. Everybody's trying to get you to come on one. Everybody's, like, asking you, like, oh, have you heard this one or that one? And like, you kind of get lost in it. But a lot of them don't last, right? So like, consistency is key. Like, if you're enjoying it, like, don't do a podcast for other people. Like, do it because you like doing it and you like doing it with each other. Because I think that's the thing that'll make it. If you think about things like The Read or other podcasts, like, they were doing that for a long time before people started listening to it and before it got to be a big thing. You know what I mean? So like, there
And
might
times
be
and stuff.
some years where it's just like, man, we're doing this, and like, not like nobody's listening, but it's like, oh yeah, okay. Like, we've kind of, well, once you kind of find your established listenership, like, we've got people who, like, we're in constant communication with, who are always reaching out and like suggesting things, or telling us how much they love the show. And I think once you kind of have that base of people who are like, we like this, like, we like listen, because like, podcasts, strangely enough, I've heard people say it's like, you're like our friends. Like, we don't know you, but we know you, right? Like, we listen to you, like, we know about your lives. We've kind of heard you talk, and then there's like a comforting thing to it where it's like, I'm checking in with friends, like, each week my friends are talking about this, and you feel like you're a part of that conversation. So yeah, as long as you guys are having fun doing it, like, that's really the most important part. Like, because that's who you should be doing it for. It's like, if you're having fun, if you're all enjoying the experience and the process, like, that's, you got it. Like, you're already winning. So
Well, thank you for that. I'm having fun with this podcast with my work friends, Demarcus and Loranta. I'm not invited to their wedding. That's why they're just my work
mm.
friends, in case you're wondering.
So
Um,
pause. We had a
but
conversation. He
but
asked us, was he going to be in the wedding party? We said, well, hold on, let's think about it. And
okay.
in
Well,
that
if I'm not in the wedding
hesitation, in
party,
that
I'm not in
slight
the
moment of
wedding.
hesitation, he's like, oh, so I'm not invited. We didn't say that.
Okay. Well,
But
anyways,
I'm sorry. We're not gonna bring you in on the pod drama. We're not
All
make
gonna.
good.
sure that you guys follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Black Geek Energy. Make sure you email us your questions, comments, or concern at blackgeekenergy@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, BGE_pod. Scroll down, leave us a comment on your iTunes, rate us 5 stars on Spotify. If you want to hear the full episodes of Laronte's Dungeons and Dragons series, it's on
Mm.
Spotify for $1, so you can go ahead and pay for that and listen to it. They're really good. Um, yeah, we want to thank Jordan Clark, our first celebrity guest, taking time out of his busy writing schedule to talk with us. This was an amazing episode. I learned a lot of things. I feel like I still have 1,001 questions like we did with that One Piece episode. I didn't feel like I scratched the surface with this. Um, if you know Vita Ayala, you can like send her a DM because we're gonna send her a DM as well. Shooting our shot. But yeah, if you could also send a DM about Black Geek Energy, that'd be great. But yeah, thank you for listening to this podcast, this episode, and we will see you next time on Black Geek Energy. Great.
EGE out.
Oh my god.
See, but now, okay.
God.
Because that one we actually do. That one's established.
Oh, that was established. But Paul, we can't just pause for a second.
No.
Let
No.
the record breathe. We can't let it breathe. Come on, y'all.
All right, let's take a break to check in on our geeks. How are y'all doing? How are y'all feeling? How's your heart? How's your mind? Now, y'all have asked us about mental health before and what our feelings are on mental health, and I say that your mental health is just as important as your physical health, your spiritual health, and your financial health, your fiscal health. And therapy, a lot of times, is a bridge to those other things. And so our sponsor, BetterHelp, is here to help us with that and help you with that. And I know a lot of y'all don't believe in therapy. Y'all ain't got time for it. Can't nobody tell you how you feel. But that's not what BetterHelp is here to do. What BetterHelp does is that they have licensed professionals that help you understand why you're feeling the way you do and are able to walk you through those feelings and help you get to a better place or just to reassure you of where you already are. I'm in therapy myself, and I can tell you that it's working for me. So, why not give it a try? You can go to betterhelp.com/BGE pod. That's beta gamma epsilon pod for 10% off and get started with BetterHelp today.